All right, I want you to watch me hit this ball and see what you notice here. Now, watch me hit another one, and I want you to pay close attention here so you don't miss this. We're gonna talk in today's video about something I did with a recent student that totally changed his swing in like 15, 20 minutes. And it's something so subtle. Watch this one here again. So see what you notice here as I hit. So do you see what I'm doing there? And obviously I'm kind of setting you up here a little bit, but I'm gonna put a play or two on the screen. And I want you to watch me hit, and I want you to watch it. I'm gonna give you a little hint as to what we're looking for. Now, as you watch them do it and watch me do it, see if you notice what I'm talking about here. Let's watch this one. So see me through the ball and into my finish and see where they're at, in particular right here. It is amazing how far forward your hips have to go in the golf swing to be a good ball striker. They have to go, I'm talking like 4 to 6 inches forward during your downswing to be a good ball striker. And there's two really, really important things that does for us that I had a recent student who came in who was struggling with these two things. I'm gonna tell you what those two things are. I'm gonna show you exactly how to feel those during your swing and then give you some ways to practice it to help you. Now, ultimately, the hip motion is so darn important. The two big things that it helps us control, the more my hips work forwards towards the target, it helps me control low point. So think where the club head hits the ground. It helps me get that more forward so I can hit, ball first, ground second, take a divot after the golf ball and compress it nice. I gotta have my hips going forward to do that. The second thing it helps me do is it helps me get the club from inside. So as my hips are going forward, that helps me create some tilt away from the target. It helps my club come low and inside into the golf ball, which ultimately helps me hit it pretty straight, right? Like pretty straight shots. So hips going forward help me hit the ball solid from low point forward. Hips going forward help me swing from inside, which helps me get good direction control. Now, the player that I was working with had his hips too far back throughout the entire swing, and that was costing him issues. He came in, he said, hey, I'm really struggling with contact, hitting it fat and thin, and direction-wise, he was hitting pulls and fades. And he came in like a lot of students do, nice gentleman, and he named me off like 10 things he didn't like in his swing. His setup position, his grip, his backswing, where his shoulder was, right, his left up. He named up all kinds of things, but never once did he talk about his hip motion. And it's often overlooked. I want to make sure you have this in your swing. It's one of the few non-negotiables. We'll see players like Scotty Scheffler during the downswing, how far forward their hips go. You'll see Tommy Fleetwood doing this. You'll see Xander Schauffele doing this. You'll see Rory. You'll see Colin Morikawa. 5 of my favorite swings, 5 great players, 5 of the best ball strikers, all getting their hips way forward into the finish position. All right, guys, I've been waiting for this day to come for so long, and it's finally here. I want to introduce you to the Swing Coach app. This is an AI-powered golf coach designed by the Swing Coach team and the guys from AMG that we've been testing now for quite a while, that we're ready to have you get into and use to improve your golf game. Well, with the Swing Coach app, you literally just take out your phone, set it 8 feet behind you, start swinging, and here's what it does.
Club at delivery, shallow by 3.
Instantly tells you, just like I would, here's what you need to work on in your swing. Here are your main priorities. It's like taking your coach home with you, which is me, and watching you hit every single swing. And really what you're getting with this also is next level video feedback. I mean, check this out on the screen here. Not only do you get the audio feedback after you're hitting,
hands at top, forward by 1.
It also gives you images that are color-coded on the screen that show you exactly what your issues are in each area of the swing. It's something that's gonna maximize your practice time and make you get better so much faster because you have instant feedback on every single swing you make. If you wanna check out the Swing Coach app, again, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. You can try it absolutely for free. Why would you not try it? It's very, very inexpensive to use. It's gonna get you maximum results for your practice time. We're gonna put a link in the description down below. Go click that, go take advantage. Let's improve your golf game. Now I'm gonna show you what to feel and exactly how to do this, but the simple thing that I want you to start with, like I did with my student, is to put a club in line with the golf ball. I've got a 7 iron, you can use 7 or 8 iron. We'll kind of assume this is in the middle or just forward of middle of your stance here. And I want this to represent where we need to get to during the swing. So watch me hit this one. And I want you to note where my hips are relative to that line. And we'll pull up one of the pros here so you can see them do this as well. Watch this here. So notice where my hips get into my finish position. The first place to start here is making sure that you get your hips fully forward into the finish. So when I draw a line up from that club or the golf ball, my hips have gone fully forward of that. That's like step number one. If I make sure that I get to that end spot with the hips fully forward, I will have made sure I shifted enough earlier on to get those benefits. Hitting the ball first, ground second, and swinging from inside. So first things first, making sure I finish with my hips fully forward, where like all of my butt is past that line into the finish. And you can see when I do that, how my hips are fully forward. There's a solid shot, slight little draw, just slightly left of the target line. Now, as I'm doing that, what I want to feel, right, the two feels that I went over with my student, we've got two options, right? We've got a left side of our body and a right side of our body. Some players, to get the hips forward, like to feel like they're falling into the left leg, like sort of increasing weight underneath the left leg, right, during my downswing. As I increase the weight under my left leg, you'll notice that helps me get my hips going forward. That's a nice option. So I can feel as I'm going that I'm going to get more weight pressing underneath my left foot during the downswing to help me get my hips forward. And that can help me hit really solid, nice shots there. Now, the student that I had didn't love that kind of get into your left feel, which brings us to the opposite possibility. And neither one of these are right or wrong. You could try both. Instead of feeling like you're falling into your left, you could feel like you're pushing off of your right. So I'm sort of pushing off the inside part of my right foot. I could feel that, same thing. Make sure I get my hips fully pushed forward. I can push off of my right foot. And that's ultimately the feel that the student had that came in. I'm talking like 15, 20 minutes of this. We got his hips more forward, right? He was hitting behind the ball, fats and thins and pulls and fades, and never once thought of his hips, right? Within 15, 20 minutes, we fixed a lot of issues. The more the hips are back away from the target at any point in the swing, the more the low point is going to be behind the ball, poor contact, and the more your path's going to be out to in, right? Over the top, steep to the left, pulls and fades. Hips moving forward helps get that club head from inside. Whether we want to feel like we fall into the left or we push off of the right, either one's fine so long as the hips are fully pushed forward. Now, as the hips are pushing and moving forward, notice, do I do that or do any of the good ball strikers do that with their belt buckle still at the golf ball? Is it just hip slide with no turn? Of course they aren't, right? They're not just sliding with their hips facing the golf ball. What we'll see is as they get into their finish position with their hips fully pushed forward, where's their belt buckle pointing? Out towards the target. Out towards the target. So that means as I'm pushing my hips up and forward, they also have to be rotated. So I'm going to put this club in line with the ball, whether I want to feel fall into the left or push off the right or both. I need to make sure when I finish, my hips are fully forward, but also notice they're fully pushed towards the target. Now, timing wise, when do you do this? Right away to start the downswing, right? Right away to start the downswing. So this is something we're going to do throughout the entire downswing. Why do we want to do this? To be able to hit ball first, ground second, and swing from inside. Hips fully push forward into my finish. Now, as I'm doing that, you'll notice for me, and you'll notice Scotty Scheffler, right? He does okay for himself. Colin, also not bad. Rory, right? Tommy. As their hips are pushing forward, does their head go way up forward with it? Or does their head stay back over the ball? Right? Their head stays back over the ball. So as I'm pushing these hips forward with the belt buckle fully turned to make sure I hit it solid and swing from inside, my hips are forward and rotated, but my head stays back. So when I get into my finish position, the hips are the most forward, and then the chest and the head are back. So regardless of what I want to feel there. Now, my student who was struggling with the hips back, He didn't move his hips hardly at all on the way down, but he also had him too far back the entire swing. Now, if I need to move my hips that far forward, we draw the lines up the legs, see how far forward the hips need to move. If they've got to go 4 to 6 inches forward, some of these players do more than that, does it make sense to start with them back to the right? Not really, right? If I'm going to have my hips more back, that means I'd have to move them even more forward on the way down. I wouldn't want to do that. So what you'll see these players do, like a Tommy Fleetwood's a good model, all of them, they'll start with their hips pretty much right in the middle, so their belt buckle will be right in the middle of their ankles, or slightly forward, but never really back. Okay, very rare to see that. So you want to make sure you start with the hips in the center, 50-50 in your feet, or even 55-45 left. Don't be afraid of that. If anything, I wouldn't mind having the hips slightly forward at setup. Why? Well, I got to go 4 to 6 inches this way. That kind of just gives me a little head start, doesn't it? Right, that'd be okay. Same way, I don't want to start with my hips back if I've got to go this way. Would it make sense to start centered and then move them way back here? So I've got to do even more work to go forward? Not really, right? That doesn't make sense. So what you'll see these good players do, and we'll show you an image of me doing it from the rear view as well. Won't charge you extra for that. Hey-o, we'll draw the line up the legs, and what we'll see is the hips stay pretty much right in the middle, right? They don't go to the right of the line, but they also don't go left of it on the way back. What they do is they stay fairly centered, right? If anything, their right hip creates like an inch of space there. So the point being, getting set up correctly in the backswing will just make it easier to do the downswing. I told my student, when he sets up, take your setup, take your belt buckle, bump it 1 inch towards the target. He felt a little more weight under his left foot. He said, was that okay? And then he proceeded to strike a 7-iron, probably the best of his life. I said, do you think that's okay? Right? He said, okay, yeah, I get the point. Right? It's perfectly okay when we hit it better. So hips 1 inch forward at the setup, and then during the backswing, instead of swaying to the right, he felt like, hey, he kept his hips pretty centered. He felt like his right hip, and you'll see this in some of the models and me from the rear view, the right hip works around a little bit, right? So his mantra was hip slightly forward, work the right hip around, and then what? You guessed it, right? Push them all the way forward. Is that too much to do in a swing? I don't think so, right? It's all one thing. Hip slightly forward. I'm gonna feel the right hip around during the backswing, and then I'm gonna get into that finish position. And these are all really solid. I mean, I can't hit a ball better than that. These are all really, really solid shots. Now, I do that motion plenty, right? I'm on the end of the spectrum of moving my hips real forward and I hit the ball real solid, right? That's kind of where you want to get here with this. Start simple with the club in line with the golf ball. Feel that pushing down into your left, or feel the pushing off to the right, or just start very basic with like your hands on your hips like this, and have an object in the middle of your feet and say, okay, from here, I need to push all of my hips forward of that, all of that forward, right? While I'm getting my belt buckle towards the target. Notice for me to do that, I can't do that if my right foot stays on the ground the whole time and doesn't turn. So I like to say, and I told my students he was doing this, just make sure as you're doing this, get your right shoelaces, see my shoelace in my right foot towards the target. See my right kneecap forward towards the target. Hips are forward, head's back. Fall into the left or push off the right. Okay, one more like that. Okay, set up with the hips forward, right hip around, and then hips fully forward. And there's another really solid high 7-iron. So if you want to hit the ball consistently solid, this is like a non-negotiable. There's different ways to grip the club, right? There's different wrist angles. This is one of the few things that are must-do things. If you want help with your game, come see me in person up here in Pennsylvania, down in Boca, or send your swings to cogornogolf.com. Regardless of where you are in the world, we can make sure we identify things that help you. Like my student, he was focused on 10 things. None of them were the biggest issue. Like, what if you're working on your swing and you're spending all the time on things that aren't the main issue, right? It's just spiral. No success that way. So what we do, right, is make sure that you focus on the right things and give you a plan to do it. I'd love to help you with that. Any questions down below, leave a comment. I'm also going to link another video. If you get this hip motion correct, a couple other parts of the swing that are really important, I'd also consider non-negotiables. We'll link that at the end. Thank you for watching.